I don't know how else to say this, but the Joe Mixon era for the Houston Texans appears to have reached a bizarre and permanent conclusion. Reliable insider Aaron Wilson is reporting that Mixon told his former teammates he is officially done with his NFL career after vanishing from the roster throughout the 2025 season. This marks a surreal ending for a guy who was our star playmaker just 1 year ago. There are two angles worth breaking down: the murky facts behind his disappearance and the lingering questions about how this all went down. It is a confusing development that demands answers. Smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us where you are watching from. Let us dive in. The Houston Texans are facing a truly bizarre and somber reality as we grapple with the potential end of the Joe Mixon era. After serving as a genuine star for our team throughout the 2024 season, Mixon simply vanished from the gridiron, failing to play a single snap for us during the entire 2025 campaign. We were all left wondering where he went, but the silence from the organization remained absolute. Now, a startling report from Aaron Wilson reveals that Mixon has been telling his former teammates from the Bengals that his career is officially finished. It is a haunting conclusion to a journey that meant so much to this fan base, leaving us to wonder how a player of his caliber could just fade into the background without a formal explanation. Here's what people are missing in all the speculation about his mysterious absence. The Texans organization was incredibly vague regarding his status all year long, and while someone in the building clearly held the answer, that secret has stayed buried. As Houston Texans fans, we feel a deep sense of unease because we never received closure, and the lack of clarity regarding whether this was due to an injury or a personal circumstance has left a sour taste for many of us who supported him during his time here. It feels like one of the strangest endings to an NFL tenure that any of us have ever witnessed in our years of following the league. With this news sending shockwaves through the organization, we have to look past the official statements to understand the deeper implications for our roster. If Mixon is truly retired, how could the front office have stayed silent for so long? And what does this silence suggest about the internal culture currently operating behind the scenes at NRG Stadium? The most startling development is that Joe Mixon has reportedly informed his former teammates from the Cincinnati Bengals that his professional career is officially over. This news creates a massive void for us as Houston Texans fans, especially considering he was a standout star for this team in 2024, before essentially vanishing from the roster throughout the 2025 season. We saw a player who was once a primary engine of our offense simply walk away without a single snap played over the last calendar year. What makes this even bigger is the total shroud of mystery regarding the circumstances of his departure. While the organization remained tight-lipped and vague throughout the entire ordeal, the silence from the front office and DeMeco Ryans suggests they were either protecting the privacy of the player or dealing with a situation that lacked a clean resolution for the public record. Historically, we have seen players step away from the game for personal reasons, but rarely does a star of his caliber disappear so completely without a formal retirement announcement or a clear injury designation attached to his name. Behind closed doors, you have to wonder if the front office and Cal McNair had been preparing for this day for months while managing the roster depth. It is a sobering reminder of how quickly the NFL landscape shifts, leaving loyal supporters to piece together the truth from whispers and social media updates rather than official press releases. This unexpected conclusion to his time in Houston creates a difficult narrative to process, as we are left to speculate on whether health or personal shifts truly drove him to walk away from the sport entirely. As training camps get underway, our focus must now turn toward how this team will fill the production gap left by his departure and move forward without one of their most talented veterans. Moving past the initial shock of the news, let us analyze the deeper implications for our organization. This is where it gets real, as the void left by a standout performer like Joe Mixon fundamentally shifts our strategy. The primary concern for us as Houston Texans fans is the uncertainty surrounding our backfield production heading into the 2026 season. With the veteran effectively signaling that his career is finished, we lose a primary offensive anchor who defined our identity in 2024. From a roster standpoint, the front office must now scramble to identify a reliable successor, which inevitably places a heavier burden on our remaining depth chart. This unexpected retirement disrupts our long-term salary cap planning, forcing us to reallocate resources that were earmarked for stability elsewhere. Looking at the schedule, our upcoming matchups against the Colts and the Titans become significantly more daunting without a proven veteran presence to manage the clock and wear down opposing defenses. Our division standing is now in flux, as the margin for error in the AFC South has narrowed substantially. If our rushing attack fails to find its rhythm early, we jeopardize our postseason aspirations against teams that are looking to exploit any sign of weakness. The reality is that we are navigating uncharted waters, and the lack of clarity regarding his mysterious departure leaves us grasping for answers that may never come. We must trust that the coaching staff has a contingency plan to mitigate this loss, but the departure of such an impactful player leaves a significant hole in our locker room. As we prepare for the grind of the regular season, the resilience of this team will be tested in ways we did not foresee when training camps open this summer. We simply have to adapt quickly to maintain our competitive edge. The sudden departure of Joe Mixon leaves a massive void, but we must consider the potential upside for the Houston Texans as we look toward this upcoming season. By finally closing the book on this lingering mystery, the organization can fully shift its focus toward newer backfield talent that is currently hungry to prove itself in training camp. Having a clean slate allows the coaching staff to implement a more modern, committee-based rushing attack that might actually increase our offensive versatility compared to relying on a single veteran presence. And that changes everything regarding our internal salary cap flexibility and long-term roster construction. Conversely, the downside is undeniably heavy because we are losing a proven playmaker who was an absolute star for Houston in 2024. Not knowing the specific reasons behind his year-long absence creates an unsettling atmosphere that could distract the locker room if players feel the situation was handled with too much ambiguity by the front office. According to Aaron Wilson, the narrative gaining traction around the league is that Mixon has been telling his former Bengals teammates his career is done. While outlets speculate on the bizarre nature of this exit, other buzz mentions how names like AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs are generating headlines elsewhere due to their own specific team links. Yet none carry the same air of mystery as our situation. Here's where I land on this. While I appreciate the professional contributions Mixon gave us during his peak, the idea that he simply vanished without a formal explanation feels incredibly disrespectful to the fan base. I find the rumors surrounding his retirement overblown if there isn't a concrete medical diagnosis provided. But given how quiet the building has remained for over a year, it seems we have finally reached the end of this strange, painful chapter in Texans history. When we look at the quiet departure of Joe Mixon alongside the broader state of the league, we see a franchise forced to pivot toward an uncertain future. Now here's the thing. The mysterious end of Mixon's career serves as a somber reminder that the NFL is a fleeting business where even the brightest stars can vanish without warning. For the Houston Texans, this means we must aggressively rebuild our backfield depth to ensure that our long-term offensive identity remains stable regardless of individual absences. You should feel a mix of frustration and cautious optimism heading into this season, as the lack of clarity regarding his year-long disappearance reflects poorly on the organization's transparency. Yet it also clears the way for fresh talent to step up and define a new era for us. We have been through enough as dedicated fans to know that resilience is the bedrock of our success. And while losing a 2024 star to such an ambiguous exit hurts, we are ultimately better off closing this chapter and focusing on the roster we have today. The Texans need to show that they can weather these bizarre personnel storms by keeping the standards high and the locker room focused on the goal at hand. It remains a strange ending to a once promising tenure, leaving us to wonder how such a sudden silence could envelop a player who was so vital to our success just 2 years ago. Does the news reported by Aaron Wilson, which suggests that Joe Mixon believes his professional football career is truly over, make you feel that the Texans were adequately prepared for this outcome? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Toro time. I'll see you in the next one.